can see you very clearly, Rick. If I take these off, now I can see you clearly.
I got 7 o'clock now. Is our technology all
Our technology is, so the YouTube video is started and we're live on the virtual meeting. I think we're ready.
Okay. Gavel us in. Welcome everyone to the June 4th City Council meeting here in DeSoto. We'll start with roll call, please.
Lane,
Oh, Danny's the chair at the moment. I should have looked.
I'll start the other way. Murdoch,
here.
Ritter,
Here.
Hannah Michael,
Here.
Daniels,
Here.
Lane, as is Michael.
He's back.
He's back.
Try again.
Hey, Danny, are you with us?
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm sorry. Okay,
Thank
I'm ready.
you.
I'm sorry.
Everyone's present, Mayor.
All right, I would invite everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kevin, under your audio settings, can you, is your call off? You turn, I'm hearing feedback. It's not yours?
I've got my mic off. It's on this speaker right here.
It's on that speaker?
It's on this speaker right here. It's not picking up from my mic. I got my mic off, but this speaker is broadcasting.
You have your volume all the way down?
How is it doing that?
All right.
Oh, on the output. Uh, it's muted.
All right. We will carry on. I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I don't hear, but I turned off the room audio. So those in the, I don't think we need the room audio
Okay.
for everybody to hear tonight, as long as the YouTube video is still getting it, which I believe it is. So I think we're good.
All right.
Long way of saying good.
Okay,
Let's proceed.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to add new business item A, consider City Hall security improvements, and move the remaining items down.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to add a new business item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now our first item is our consent agenda, which is our minutes, approval of our minutes from our council meeting of May 21st and pay ordinance number 879. Any discussion of the consent agenda or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane, Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Council motion carried.
Okay. Next item is call to public. Members of the public aren't here attending, but did we receive any correspondence from anyone at the public wishing to comment?
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay. So we'll move on to old business, which we have none. So we're to item 4A, new business, which is now our City Hall security plan presentation. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have our consultants here this evening. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. If you could just step up to the podium, and I have your plans here. I can project and point as you go through. Thanks.
My name is Andy Meyer with Jastinger Walker Architects, Kansas City, Missouri. Thanks for having me tonight. Thanks for hiring us to do this work. We have some drawings up here, and I guess if as an overview, I would say that essentially what we're trying to do is create a little bit more secure zone for City Hall, which will entail a few walls to be built and doors to be built around the main level here to divide up and separate visitors in the non-secure area to the secure area. As you're flipping through, you'll see the next page here, this plan up on the upper right. really shows the extent of the security perimeter. There'll be some new walls at the front door. You will have a new, excuse me, a new storefront wall indoor. Oop, that was, if everybody can see that, yeah, right.
Sorry.
That's okay. So really up top there. Really creating a new storefront door and wall at the top of the steps at the entry on the north side. Again, on the east side here, as for people who will be using the elevator as they come out, a new wall there. Both the north and the east areas will have a new transaction window, a secure transaction window, level 1 security, and capabilities for pass-through, and they also have a little hinged door that can pass larger items through. There's also a speak-through component on those to be able to speak through those but maintain security. Over on the left side, on the west side, at the bottom of the existing stairs, we're also putting in a new storefront glass and aluminum wall here with a new door. The bottom of those steps, a little bit to the right there will also be changing out a door with some hardware. That really creates your secure zone versus non-secure zone. That's really it. Down at the bottom left, you see a little bit. We're changing out a door and a card reader for the park and rec office. That's essentially the scope to create the perimeter. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. We also have Keith Bowman here too. He's with Metro Security.
What style card reader? Swipe, scan?
Swipe, actually, we've got, newest technology is non-hackable today. And they've got whole HIV on it, which is industry encrypted cards to reader, and then everything the reader back to the access device.
So not a barcode scan, swipe, but actual card. Yeah.
And you talked about panic buttons. Could you go over that a little bit?
So what we're talking about here is access control.
Keith, would you mind stepping up to the mic?
sorry.
I don't think Danny can't hear us, and
Okay.
since he's not in the
Yeah,
room.
what we're showing here on the drawing currently is that all access control, so card access into the secured area. We've also added to the RFP a security system that's used as a hold-up or panic system. So we've allotted, I believe, 18 different devices. That was a number that Jay came up with. They're wireless, so they can be moved around. Obviously, when they get moved and put under a desk somewhere, we need to go into the system or have a contractor go in the system and put a name on that. So it's 2-button, so it's false alarms are cut way down there. You have to hold the 2 buttons in for up to 2 to 3 seconds. That will go as a 911 call back to the sheriff's department at that point, and we'll tell them at what location that by name, either desk name or person's name, has pushed that button. It's 100% silent, so there's no audible in the building at all. Keypad doesn't make any noise. Bad guy doesn't know it's been pushed. No one else in the office knows it's been pushed. So that's been added in here as well. There was some questions early on about outside of this area, how far would we go? The system's wireless, so you put in repeaters and pretty much cover the whole building without a problem if you need to or want to.
So you said 18 buttons then?
Yeah, we've specified 18 different wireless devices.
So those are some in here, right?
I would have to really rely on Jay to tell us where he was thinking those would be.
Well, we wouldn't want to discuss the actual location of our buttons on, right?
Oh,
Just
well, that might be.
kind of facetious, but not really. I think that would be something we would want to.
Thank you.
Yeah, the quantity is
Yeah.
what was determined internally. So you can always add to it. You can always take away from it at that point. I think the system will handle 100 and some odd devices. Back to your question, just so you know, you can upgrade from what we've talked about so far to a keypad in swipe. So if you feel like you need that level of security as well. Keypad's bad because you let people figure out what those codes are over time. So we definitely want, if you do go that route, we want to keep that in swipe.
Budget wise, we got an estimate. Are we on track with what we had budgeted for this?
At this point, we do not have a budget set. We were going to put the drawings out to bid. So I don't know exactly the estimate at this point.
Okay.
One thing we talked about quite a bit is we could go over how the storm shelter also works.
Okay.
Like, that was something we talked about, and make sure that we still allow citizens access to the storm shelter, but still keep the upstairs secure.
Sure. I'll talk about a little bit about how that could work, and then I'll kind of pass it over to Keith a little bit for the mechanics of the security there. But up on the top right of this drawing, you see the door, which is essentially that storm shelter door up on the east side of the building. That's just called out to remain. Currently, that would open up and be your access to the storm shelter. That we do not have a plan here that shows the basement here, but essentially you come in that door and go into the basement and can access the elevator and come up. So when you come up through the elevator to this first floor level, that is your secure point where you would have to, someone from the secure side could come and open the door and let them in, or do a transaction through the new transaction window in that new wall. I should also note that I didn't before that current transaction window in the main office will be replaced with, as I mentioned, a more secure transaction window there. Same transaction window in both walls.
It should also be noted when you get off the elevator, there'll be a doorbell there as well that will ring back into the office to grab the attention. As far as the door downstairs, it's existing. It currently has a strike on it, and you guys are controlling that, or the county is, I assume, via radio signal on tornado, so that door automatically unlocks because that's a sheltered door. What we're proposing is add card access to that door. I've already looked at it, should not be a problem at all. So add a card reader to that door. And when we do that at that point, if you want to do auto unlocks, so that door's unlocked from pick a time, 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon automatically every day, and locks it itself, it's automatically done. We don't have to worry about someone forgetting to go back down and lock that door.
Council, I think the main reason we wanted to present this to you is because we do want to get it out to bid soon. It's scheduled for fall constructions when we'd like to have this. We just want to kind of work through your comfort level with really the public experience as they come into the building, because it's going to be a pretty drastic change from what people are used to. They're going to enter the front door, come up those steps, and they won't get any further than just kind of that landing by Patrick's door there. And then, the utility counter will be there. But if they want to meet with anybody else in the office, they'd have to be buzzed in. So that, here I'm here to see Steve, or building inspections, or or whatever. They would have to be specifically buzzed in by somebody at the front office. The tricky part of this whole thing was the ADA access, obviously, with the elevator. So really that doesn't change, other than, the ADA access is come up the elevator, and as you get off the elevator, you're greeted with a secure transaction window with a button to push to call somebody at the front office.
So someone from the office would come to that ADA door, the
Right.
ADA transaction window, then.
Or potentially maybe just buzz them through.
That's why I want. Can they buzz in and then go to the other but. I don't know.
Potentially.
If they see that person through the glass and they know it is from their computer screen, they can also unlock and buzz that person in as well. Or we can put a button in, either way.
But it is a pretty big change to kind of the public experience of visiting City Hall. So and I think everybody kind of understood what the concept was, but we just wanted to get this in front of you before we send it out to bid, to make sure everybody still has a comfort level with what we're doing. And obviously the goal is to increase safety, and actually, as an added benefit, as we found out with the COVID, this may have helped us open City Hall to the public sooner, without with those physical barriers in place. So the cities that had a system like this in place already, tended to leave their city halls open, or they could open earlier than we did. So that's a unexpected benefit to the plan, I think.
Any concerns from the council about us going this direction and having a secure experience when you enter the building as opposed to the? I think it's a good thing. I think it's been needed for some time, and I think it's.
I was gonna say, the only question I've got is unrelated to that, but with what you just mentioned, is there any opportunity for COVID funds to make it where it would be in future issues capable of? Just
We should look into that. Yeah, we will. We will. That's a really good suggestion. That's a good idea.
because I mean, this would make it where in the dealing with COVID, be able to maintain city business easier. So that's the only thought I had on it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good suggestion.
Kevin?
Maybe question. Okay, so how do we not make the speaker here cause feedback? Danny, okay, it's working now. When we talk secure, I guess I wonder what I guess different levels of security. So I think we're doing controlling passage, but you think of storefront.
I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt
It's-
you, Kevin. If you just mute, if you can mute your mic.
I'm muted. Oh, okay, my mic's muted.
Yeah. So Danny can hear because he's being picked up. This is being picked up.
Okay, so I don't need to
You don't-
unmute here.
Right on your laptop
Okay,
at all.
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. When we talk about secure, just to make sure we're all on the same page as to what secure is, I guess we're securing passage of people through the space, but we're not creating, certainly you can break through a glass window. So I'm just curious about what we're defining as secure. And then I agree that we need to control passage through the space. Right now, it's just way too open. You come in and you can just kind of roam and go anywhere. So one, I just want to make sure we're on the same understanding of what we mean by secure when we say the facility is secure. And two would be, to Mike's point about experience, is there anything that we could do or could consider at that location at the top of the stairs where maybe during business hours and routine operations, if you will, it is open to be able to access kind of that main secured area. Then, if there's any merit to having it feel less enclosed right at the top of the stairs, but maybe those are open 8 to 5 while somebody is there, and that people can free flow to the elevator or something. I don't know if there's any merit to that. But those are my two comments. Just understanding what secure means to us.
And Kevin, I should point out that the transaction windows themselves are rated to a level 1 security, but you're correct. The storefronts that we have there are no different than the storefronts that are at the entry to the building.
You could break in.
Correct. We have not, in a effort for budget and kind of not going to that level for security, we have not specified bullet-resistant glass in those. If someone is at a transaction window with someone behind them, that is more of a secure area. And you'll see in the plan that there's never a spot where you would stand at the transaction window and be able to break the glass next to it very easily. If you're in that zone, I think there's space to be able to kind of get back away from that. But yes, you are correct. The storefront is just the storefront that you would typically see anywhere, aluminum and glass.
So can you say there's kind of two different security zones, if you will? One that's in the current administrative area secured by the transaction glass, and the other being the dashed T-shape that you got shown.
Correct. There's one exception. As you come off the elevator, there's a solid wall there and a storefront where the door is.
So you can get into it from that side.
Correct.
Yeah, and well, go ahead.
But keep in mind, you also have your panic buttons at that point as well.
Yeah. Right.
So there is some level of security there.
I think the other part of that is we didn't want to make this feel enclosed too. So you want to have that glass. But if it is a concern, there is a way to, go to a higher level of storefront glass there. It's just exponentially correct.
No, I understand. And just, to Mike's point, it does make our city hall experience feel very, very small.
Yes, correct.
Let me also talk about some of the functionality of the access control. All those readers have the ability to unlock those doors on schedule. Whoever has access to the web interface will be able to go in with 2 or 3 mouse clicks, say, I want to unlock this door. You can actually go out with your card, if you have privilege to do this, present your card twice, that door will automatically unlock and stay unlocked. So if you get a delivery through for some reason or something of that nature, ding, ding, door is going to stay unlocked. And in the background, we program it to say, relock automatically within an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, whatever we program it to. So again, there's lots of ways within the system to take care of the human forgetting to relock the door and things of that nature. Present your card again twice. After it's already unlocked, then we'll relock. So if you did get in a situation where you wanted to be more open, present your card twice, it's open, but then public can come and go as they please. But if for some reason there's a heightened level of security, present it twice, it's going to automatically lock at that point. What we don't have that might, if you're thinking you're going to do and leave that door open on a regular basis, then things like automatic door closures should be thought about. So if the panic button's pushed, the door automatically closes on its own. That's very easy to add. You would add that on the fire alarm as well. So if the fire alarm is pulled, the door would automatically close. So there's other things that we can add to there if you're not comfortable with the way it's currently designed. But the nice thing about the system we're looking at, the answer is always yes. It's a system that's extremely expandable. City of Independence uses this exact same system, and they've grown it out to all their fire stations, and it's a citywide system. So the answer is always yes on the functionality as long as that question is within the access control realm.
Kevin Ritter,
I think
thoughts, comments?
I think it's designed very well. I think more public buildings are going to this type of security system, fire, police, public buildings such as this. So it does keep those folks, the staff, safe from somebody just coming in. The system seems like it's very usable, very expandable. I like the remote buttons. I think there's other places in this facility that have only one way into certain offices that those folks feel vulnerable. So I think that those buttons will be handy for them to have as well. So I like that piece.
Thank you, Kevin. Rob? Nothing? Lori?
I like this system. I think it's fine. For the way our building is structured coming in and out of it, it's, what we can do. It's not, where we have a big open foyer when people coming in can sit and wait. So that would be my only thoughts, is that maybe try and, after it's in, nothing wrong with the system, but just little things like if somebody knows they're coming to meet Mike, call him ahead of time, because I can see how the whole getting a hold of the person you're coming to see is going to be kind of like an issue, or have a, I don't know what could be done with that, though. Some kind of intercom, somebody could actually go directly to a phone line or something. That would be my only thing, is people coming in and always having to ask at the front desk instead of to go see whoever it is they're coming in there. They're coming to see Brad, then the next person 10 minutes later is coming to see you, the next person, that kind of thing. So just trying to figure out a system to make that easier. I don't know that.
That's consuming the time to as well.
Yeah. So
yeah, we don't have a lot of traffic like that, except for the building department.
Yeah.
Building department routinely has people just
Right.
popping in.
Right.
So that on that department, that is a little bit of a concern.
I mean, just as long as there's a good procedure for everybody to follow. But as far as, everything else, I think, it's a good thing. We need to get it done. And I'm not an expert in the area, so I don't see anything wrong with it, What We'll begin.
Okay, well, we'll get it out to bid.
I gotta let Danny. Danny, you have any comments?
Sorry.
The only thing I was wanting to know, is there backup power for this? How is this going to happen on these doors and unlocking with power problems?
Well, the nice thing about the system is there's no magnetic locks involved. So we're 100% strikes, and without getting too deep here, that means that the doors are fail secure. So if we lose power in the middle of the night and the doors are closed, they're automatically going to stay locked. In other words, we're not applying power to the door to keep it unlocked. There is battery backup, and battery backup in the system will probably run the system for 2 or 3 days. That's all depending on how much it gets used. The panic system or the hold up system is definitely got power on it that would run it probably for a week. So the short answer is yes, there's batteries, but the in-depth answer is you don't have to be fearful that the building would be unlocked in the middle of the night if you lost power and the batteries died for some reason. The doors would still be locked.
Okay. Anything else, Danny?
No, thank you, sir.
I should mention too that even though those doors are fail secure, you would always be able to allow egress out of those doors.
You can always get out. The panic hardware. There's key override on them as well.
All right. I think we're good to go, right?
Yeah, okay, good. We'll get it out to bid and bring the bids back, obviously, for your approval when we get them.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
All right. Our next item is to consider our 2021 policing contract with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, Council, this is a yearly exercise that we do, update yearly contract renewal with the Sheriff's Office. We generally do this later in the year, but we're ready. The contract is identical to previous years, with the only exception being the payment terms of the agreement. Those are in Section 17 of the agreement. Basically, as we, the Sheriff's Office has told us since about March that there's going to be a 4.7% increase in the cost, and that is based on our call load over the last year and some other factors relating to their operations. So we worked the 4.7% increase into the budget that I presented to you at the last council meeting, so that was no surprise. The total cost of the agreement is $545,475. There is a $7,000 allowance for overtime, which might or might not be used. So I'm recommending that we approve the sheriff's contract for 2021.
Okay. Questions from council? Or a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the agreement for law enforcement services with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office for 2021.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay. Item B, consider ordinance restricting commercial truck parking on residential streets.
Yes, council, this is something pretty self-explanatory. As I indicated in the memo, most communities do restrict the parking of large commercial vehicles in residential areas. So the ordinance that I prepared, it is limited to streets. It does not address what you can park on private property. So it is limited to street parking or public parking areas. And it just indicates that if you don't meet one of the exceptions, then that vehicle cannot be parked there. And the qualifier to it is if you're parking on a street or a public area that adjoins residentially, property used for residential, then it can't be there. And this was prompted by a complaint that was made about, I guess, there's someone parking a semi regularly on a residential street. And I think Walter tried to address it through a right-of-way regulation, but that really didn't fit. So that's why we thought this was warranted.
Okay. I received the complaint from the person as well, and that's what, it was long duration parking not adjacent to even the vehicle owner's property, just somewhere where they could get it parked, and then so it's in front of somebody else's house, and then they're walking down the street to their own house and leaving it here for over a week at a time, as reported by the property owner. So I thought that it was probably appropriate that we wouldn't want a semi. I wouldn't want a semi parked next to my house for weeks at a time, and I thought it was a reasonable. And knowing that all of our surrounding neighbors have similar ordinances to restrict these vehicles in residential areas. So.
It seems that would be a safety concern too, having a big vehicle that can cover such a.
Whether it be visibility for other
Right.
traffic or
Small streets that they've been parked on.
Yeah. So that's the origin story for this. But it's we don't enact ordinances just to enact them. We enact ordinances to respond to situations. If nobody ever did it, we wouldn't have to have it. But it became a problem, so I thought it needed addressed. So. Kevin, any thoughts, comments?
Question: when you put together particularly the exclusions or the language in broad terms, and I know our neighboring communities have it. Did you look at neighboring communities that have had it in place that have language that's been workable and supported? Is it modeled after some other community that has worked well? Or, and my thought being, what does parking mean? In terms of duration, or are there holes here that somebody could find a way through that? So again, back around, is it modeled after some language that has worked well in another community?
Well, I did look at actually the resident who complained as part of the process of communicating with the city, had submitted provisions from several communities. A lot of this language, I can't remember if I based it on Sean or Lenexa, but our standard traffic ordinance defines a lot of the terms. For example, parking, that's defined. So we do have, and actually the standard traffic ordinance also has pretty extensive provisions about when a truck can unload if a truck is in the process of blocking the street to unload something, that's permitted, but it goes into detail about you can't stay there. It doesn't address the situation we're dealing with, but it does address some of the other issues about what is parking or standing or idling. So I feel like if we got into that problem, we're covered.
Well, if it's based on something that's been workable somewhere else, then that's probably okay. But I think of things like a moving truck, for example, that may come a day ahead of time and drop a trailer or something. Somebody may complain about that, but it's legitimate in that it's loading, but it's tomorrow, kind of thing. And then to the point that we need it, I agree that we do. And if people are using the public's infrastructure to store a private commercial vehicle, then it's free use of public infrastructure for a commercial purpose, and that shouldn't be, something that any individual can just choose to do. So I think it's appropriate.
Okay. Kevin Ritter.
I don't have any problems with it. I think it's needed.
Rob.
I'm good with it.
Lori.
It's fine.
Danny.
I'm fine.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, the ordinance number.
Ordinance number 2493.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve ordinance number 2493, amending the city code to restrict parking of large trucks in residential areas of the city.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay. Item C, consider committee recommendation for consultant selection for the roundabout design.
Yes, council, as we, as you know, we have money in this year's CIP to design the roundabout project at 91st and Lexington that is set to be scheduled to be constructed next year. As we do with most of the professional engineering services on larger projects, we enacted a process by which we select the consultant based on qualifications and not based on price. So we didn't ask for a bid. This isn't a competitive bidding situation. We've done that since my time here started, selecting consultants on qualifications on larger stuff. So we did that. I drafted a request for qualification statements from engineering firms, and as a result of that request, we got 8 responses back. We formed a committee consisting of Mayor Walker, Rob and Lori, Brad, and myself, and we each reviewed those proposals. We did get some input from Kevin Hanamichael as well on the proposals. I think I sent links to the whole council. The proposals were pretty long, so I didn't include them here, but there's a link there if you wanted to see them. We considered all of those, all of the qualification statements that we received, and decided that Affinis Corporation was pretty clearly above the others in terms of what they could bring to the projects. Their most relevant experience here in Johnson County, pretty recently with a couple roundabouts in front of a high school. And they also had some insight on our particular project that the others didn't really have. So the committee recommendation is to select Affinis for the design of the project. And if there's no objections from the council, we'll proceed with scope and fee negotiations with them. And the aim is to have those back for council consideration at the next meeting, hopefully. So we can get them started, and so that they can design that thing so we can be ready to bid it sometime around the first of the year, very early next year. So I'll have stand for any questions on that. Unless there are objections, that's the plan moving forward. I don't know that we need a.
We just need a consensus that we're okay to go forward with
I did.
negotiations.
I did want to have an update on where we are with the project, that it is moving forward, and to be expecting that contract at the next meeting.
Okay, well, seeing that I and Rob and Lori were in part of that, so I will poll Kevin Hanamichael.
No, I'm all for it. I mean, you don't want a motion to accept the selection committee's recommendation?
I guess we could do that. That would
Yeah.
formalize it. That'd be appropriate, I guess.
Well, pending any other discussion or comment, I will stand to make a motion.
Okay. Any comments? Danny, any comments, questions?
No, I'm fine with it.
All right.
No questions, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the selection committee's recommendation of Affinis Corporation for the roundabout design and authorize the city administrator to begin negotiations for a contract.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Get us a good price, Mike. Now you
Good.
can beat them down.
Now we got to roll up our sleeves and beat them down.
Spoken like you've been there.
All right. Item D, consider options for 83rd Street Bridge Sidewalk Barricades.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, we've talked about replacing the Jersey barriers along 83rd Street.
Sorry, Brad, could you for the YouTube sorry.
It's not for the go to meeting, it's for the YouTube. You can't. Yeah.
Right.
It's for the world at large.
All right, just for historic purposes. As you know, we've looked into replacing the Jersey barriers on 83rd Street to match the Type 1 barriers along Lexington Avenue that are below the railroad bridge. And it's one of those topics I've learned more about Jersey barriers in the last couple months than I care to ever know again. But apparently the barriers that are there now are Type 1 barriers. They're called blunt end barriers. And apparently in the industry, they have changed to pinned ends, or they pin the barriers together. They're a little bit easier to place because they don't have to be exactly formed right up against each other. And they're also easier to pick up and move. And so that seems to be the standard design now. KDOT is recommending those in many locations. And every time I talked to a couple suppliers of the Jersey barriers, and while they did say that they would do the Type 1s, this was back in February before all the COVID mess, they said they could make the barriers that we had are the same amount and deliver them for around $20,000. That was not installed. That was just made, dropped off. Typically, a contractor will then take the barriers and place them themselves. So I also, we talked as another solution was to keep the existing barriers, but to use, like especially on that end right there on the looking westbound, but to swing that so it wasn't so abrupt, and then also have a angled or a rising barrier on that end. And then I got a price from a supplier that would actually also install it for around $5,000 to do that. So thinking that, well, maybe we can get these all placed and installed for maybe around $30,000. I was thinking, low 30,000s. It'd be good to put this out to bid and see what we can come up with. Well, of course, best laid plans of mice and men didn't turn out so well because as we went through the process, we got one bid that was for $78,000. 250 seemed pretty high from what the information we'd received in early February. And talking to the contractor, he was basically saying that the suppliers of the Jersey barriers were just not interested in changing their forms and doing all this additional work for about 40 Jersey barriers, or the Type 1 blunt end barriers. I don't know also if the pandemic issues had scared anybody off, or they just didn't feel comfortable doing anything. I don't know. That's just a totally different discussion that we'll probably won't know for years whether or not some of the changes that will be happening to our business economy. Anyway, there wasn't a lot of interest in retooling the forms to make the Type 1 barriers. So with that, our recommendation after going through all this with Mike and talking to him, we felt like I ought to reject the bid from our RF Beechner and then ask council for advice on whether to proceed with just replacing and moving the westbound or the top photo so it isn't so abrupt, and then finishing the fencing on top, or rebidding the project at a later date and just see what kind of pricing we get then. I did get a call a couple days ago from RF Beechner, and they did say that they had found some used barriers that were in good condition. And there's also there's a market for used barriers. I mean, you can go on the web, you can find people that just deal in Jersey barriers. So anyway, he said it would be about a $15,000 reduction, which is significant, but it's not, still $63,000. I don't know that would change our recommendation to reject the bid or not.
Okay.
So with that, I'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Lori, any comments, thoughts?
Well, after it was done this way, and we started talking about going out and changing it, it was in my mind not something that to me was that big of a deal. I realize a lot of people say it doesn't look right, but I think a lot of it is just because it's so hard because the roads aren't marked and everything. So I think that we could do little things to make it look a little bit nicer, but I don't see a justification for spending that kind of money to make it anything what it is, because it is what it is. It's a barrier to protect people being able to walk across there. I was kind of confused that on this side we're going to put more chain link, but the other side of it didn't have chain link along the road. Why it?
Well, we
I
didn't
mean-
put chain link on the road side because that's when the discussion came
Right.
up with council
But-
whether or not we we're going to replace
But we
it.
are putting chain link there.
Yeah,
but my
I mean,
point was
we
that
want to
the
go-
other side of the road that has a sidewalk there doesn't have chain
The
link on both
Oh, the
sides.
existing stuff.
And so why is it? I mean, is that
So,
Good point.
from my understanding, if it's for bicycles, that barrier height needs to be higher than it would be if you were just walking. And so, like for bicycles, I think it needs to be at least 48 inches
Okay.
off of the surface, I believe.
so? That'd be the reason for the chain link.
And the barrier itself is 32. I believe.
That I don't know.
Okay, that makes. I mean, it makes
Typically,
sense.
I don't know about
typically
Jersey
those have to
barriers.
come up to because a cyclist could flop over
Okay.
and fall into traffic if
Okay.
we're putting it there. So that I think it needs it for that.
Yeah. But is that part already paid for and done, or do we have to do
No,
something?
we took it out of the original contract.
All of
because
that
we
is out.
knew
So
that we
how
were-
much is that going to be to get? I mean, it has to be done,
So-
obviously.
It was
but-
included in this bid, but I don't remember how much we.
because that will still need to be done at a cost.
Yes,
That is
But
correct.
It,
It'll
was
be
budgeted. It was budgeted and approved in the original one. We just
Hold it back.
pulled it
We
out
did.
to
We-
wait
yeah.
till we figure out what.
So anyway, as far as I'm concerned, I say we get this thing finished, leave it, get the stripings back on the road, and it will not be as bad. The top one there, coming from this direction is where it's really the eyesore, because when you're coming from the other direction, you're on the other side of the road, you're not really paying attention to it. Right now, it looks kind of a mess, but maybe not having grass, maybe we could do something like have gravel out front, something different, so that, or I don't know, just something so that it doesn't look like tall grass and weeds are going to be there all the time. So, maybe a little landscaping in that corner somehow, not with bushes or anything, but just grounds.
right. Well, what we're
you know what I
going to
mean?
do is actually
Pull that one out.
we're going to take one of them off the end and then rotate it. So
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
take from this joint here where it bends abruptly there. These two sections are going to swing out toward the street, so
So it'll be less of a
transition,
transition. Yeah.
and then
Almost
there'll
where
be
the
an
grass
end
ends.
section. There'll be an end section added to this end that tapers down.
Oh, we're still doing that then.
Yeah,
That's the
well,
plan.
if
that'd be
that's
my recommendation.
the direction
Yeah.
that you
Okay.
want us to go.
I think it. Well, I'm not.
It'll
Does
make.
that, you mean taper down? Does that mean in height?
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
Yeah, it'll make it look finished.
Rob, were you done? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
Rob.
great. Thanks.
Rob.
Yeah, I think finishing it'll do a lot. I don't think we need to spend the money. When it was 25-30, I was on the fence about should we not. When we're way over that, I don't see any justification for it. Even things as simple as adding the little yellow tags on the side of it. That went done right when we were getting the initial complaints, and once those were added, the striping, the fence, all make it look more finished, like it's permanent structure. Which you've kind of gotten used to it as it is, and you finish it off, pulling that out, tapering it down, look good. I do know. Back when we approved this, I had no plans of using it, just because I didn't plan on walking or biking that far from my house. That's changed, and I've gone on multiple bike rides with my kids across that bridge, and it's brought us to the point that we're comfortable letting them bike across it where we wouldn't have done before from the neighborhood over by where we are. So I like what it's done. I like what the sidewalk's done. I think we're at a point of just finish it and let's make it look finished, taper it, change that angle, get the fence up, and move forward.
Kevin Ritter.
Yeah, I don't think we should spend any additional money. I mean, it's as ugly as it's going to get. So, just put the end on it, bring it out, put the fence on it, and make it safe. I do agree with finishing Lexington Avenue, however we're going to do it, and get it striped, and we'll be done with it.
Kevin?
Maybe a little bit of your comment. You know, I still think it looks temporary. It's always going to look temporary. It becomes a trade-off of this cost thing. The end treatment definitely needs to be done. Is it possible that even city staff can go in and form up and fill in the gaps between the individual barriers?
We've talked about that, and then Mike and I kicked that around. Actually, Walter Gardner brought that idea up to my attention. My only concern is it's on that bridge deck.
It's going to move.
It's going to move and vibrate,
Those
and so
cracks and breakouts.
I think we could form it up and fill those gaps in. But in 5 years, are they going to just fall apart? And so we can give it a try.
It'd be nice to have had it done. I think the designer needs a little smack on the hand at some point to, you know, had we budgeted in a cast in place barrier, and we would probably have been okay with it, you know, with the budget for it, and it would have looked fantastic. You know, it is a long-term piece of infrastructure. You know, I don't know if we consider lifespan on the bridge, but that's probably a 30-year barrier at this point. So it's going to look like that for 30 years. So maybe we get used to it, but looks temporary. I think we figure out a way to try to move on and do the best we can.
Okay. Danny, comments?
I'm in agreement. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I guess the only thing I would add is, and it's my understanding, maybe it's more highway related, but I thought like that. I thought it all needed to be set on a hard surface. So I'm thinking if we taper that in, I think we should be putting some asphalt or concrete under it rather than setting it on grass.
Well, actually, I think we're going to try to taper it farther enough where it'll still be on the roadbed.
That was part of my
But then
desire
are
as
you
well.
going to is it a roadside hazard then from proximity to the driving lane? I mean,
Yeah.
you need to pull it out, separate it from the
That's
from the
true.
defined edge of the lane, and I think Rick's right. It's got to be on a hard surface.
I think because the idea is that if it's there, it has to be able to slide, and if it's on dirt, it's going to roll.
Yeah.
And
I
you
agree.
can't have a car catch the end of
Yeah.
it
Right.
without putting an in-section protection on it. Now we're talking about a crash protection.
Taper.
Agreed. Yeah,
Continue.
it'll have to be on a paved surface.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think there's enough shoulder
Yeah, there may not
different.
I think we
aside
just have
from
to
the
get
driving.
Ron or
Yeah.
out there with the paver, or we have a little bit of concrete. It'll just and it will enhance our maintenance activities. So it'll take care of that weed situation that might occur on the front side and that kind of stuff. Yeah. The other, I guess we could also look if we're going to bid the fence separately. I don't know that we need 48 inches. I don't, I think we could probably bid that at 32 inches, 30 inches, and it would look fine, and it would provide the required level of protection. It might save a little money.
And it would probably look better to have
A
a
little-
lower fence.
a little bit
like
lower.
along the driving. I would
Right.
I agree. I would go
Hey,
minimum
then you
level.
won't feel like you're in a tunnel as much when you're riding through there. You got this 8-foot fence,
Yeah.
thing way above you on both sides. So
minimum height fence for.
those are my comments. And I'll keep an eye out. Maybe there's some device that slips over those joints and makes it all look pretty. I don't think there is, but
But you could invent one. This could be a new money maker.
Not a bad idea.
Rubber boot or something.
So I guess with that, we would need a motion to reject the bids. then?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
we do need a motion to reject. the
Okay.
bid.
Would
Yeah.
someone want to make that motion?
Gladly, I'll make a motion. We reject the bid from RF Beechner.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to reject the bids. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Our next item, E, discuss DeSoto's reopening plan recommendations.
Yes, council. It's been a month, and the plan is the state's plan's changed at least twice since then. So it's a good time to firm up some of these discussions we've had a month ago. Update you on what our thoughts are about staffing levels in City Hall, and then we need to have a detailed discussion, likely about the pool opening. So As you know, the state emergency declaration that imposed the Ad Astra plan as a requirement expired. Governor Kelly vetoed the bill that would have extended that. So, in essence, that meant that there's really no legal state requirements that would limit any activities of anybody in the state. The counties then had the opportunity to impose restrictions if they wished. Several surrounding counties did that by essentially adopting the Ad Astra plan. Johnson County did not. So, at the same time, both state and county offered strong recommendations that you follow the intent and the recommendations of those plans to stop the spread of the virus. So, I didn't reprint the Ad Astra plan, but I did show the link in there. As I said, since we talked about this at the beginning of last month, the plan's changed a couple times. Right now, as far as the states goes, they're in phase 2 of their modified phase 2 now of their plan. Our recommendations on a staff level essentially haven't changed a whole lot since we talked about it at the last month. We are recommending generally to follow the guidance provided in the Ad Astra plan, and also to follow the phasing as the state makes announcements about moving from one phase to the next, to follow those phases as well. So, attached to the staff report, I have provided our reopening plan. It's been modified a bit. I've taken out references to the county's plan because essentially they have one, but it's not imposed as a restriction. They're just those are suggestions. And so the current plan has the state's Ad Astra guidelines. We're currently in phase 2 that started on May 22nd. We have provisions for public meetings, provisions for employees, how we're handling employees, Parks and Rec, and then some protective measure language on there once we do start to open things up. So my recommendation is to keep with this phasing plan, to move through this phasing plan as the state comes down with guidance about them moving through the Ad Astra plan. At the same time, there's realization that the Ad Astra plan could change again. And if it does, I'm recommending that we modify our plan to keep in step with that, because that guidance is coming from some authority, I think, that helps us justify what we're doing and when we're doing it. Important to note also that this plan really only affects the city's operation and our facilities and our buildings, doesn't affect any business in the city or really any individual in the city itself. So I'll go through then a couple of items to bring to your attention. I don't know that there a lot of discussion on these public facilities and meetings. So City Hall, as we know, is still closed to the public, and we will remain closed to the public until phase 3. In the state's plan, they show an expected date of June 8th, but it's also clear that the state's going to announce individually, separately, make an announcement when they move from one phase to the other. There was supposed to be some sort of an update or briefing on that today. They've postponed that till late tomorrow. It's possible that they say we're going to start phase 1 on Monday, or phase 3 on Monday. So what we'll do tomorrow is make preparations in that case. If the state announces that we're in phase 3 on June 8th, like is expected, we'll be ready to open City Hall and move into that phase of our operations. So up until now, we've had virtual meetings, no public at our council meetings, Planning Commission, BZA, and Park Board. In phase 3, we will open those to the public, but I'm still going to provide the go-to-meeting option. If there is a member of the public or a member of the board or council that wants to attend remotely, we still have that ability. So that'll be something ongoing indefinitely until we decide to change that. Currently, we're not holding in-person meetings at City Hall, so if we have a consultant or a group that wants to meet, we're still doing those virtually, but starting on phase 3, we'll start having those meetings in person. In terms of work and city employees, all of the furloughed employees have returned. They returned on Monday, so we are back to full staff. We're back to regular shifts. But those who can effectively work from home are encouraged to do that. So we do have a handful of employees who are working from home in general. Employees who are at increased risk groups, I've encouraged them to remain working from home. We have exceptions to that on a case-by-case basis. For the most part, city employees, the crews, the field crews, and even those at City Hall here, we don't have a whole lot of difficulty maintaining social distancing. Our offices are generally separated. Field crews are, out in the open. There's not a lot of times where we can't distance, so we're pretty well set up, really, for what we have for the work environment here to continue safe practices as we get back to normalcy. I am still, we still have a restriction on all work-related travel outside of the region, essentially. So conferences and out-of-state conferences, we're not doing that. We won't do those until phase 4. So that's the plan on staffing. I think the big topic for tonight then is the Parks and Rec stuff, and I've got Jay here to back me up and help me out with details on all of this, and you can jump in or have any questions for Jay's right there. Baseball and softball league. The league is still hoping for an abbreviated season. Right now, they're wanting to start practice on June 22nd, with games starting just after the 1st of July. They're looking at trying to have an 8-game season rather than a 12-game season, and it would still be teams visiting the other towns and sort of as usual, just with an abbreviated season. Now the league that we're in has a sheet and a half. Did I include it? Of no, I guess not. Practices essentially, distancing and handling of equipment and things like that would help out. The swim club has canceled its season, but because we're still hoping to be able to open the pool, we still may do some club activities just in-house, just for the DeSoto team. That Justin's still working on that. Swim lessons also, we should have already had sessions 1 and 2 in June. Those have been canceled. We've refunded money for that, and we will have sessions 3 and 4 if we're able to open the pool. The community center, we did open the exercise room for jazzercise on May 22nd, and we will open the community center, including the senior center and the gym, starting in phase 3. So maybe as soon as Monday, we'll be able to open the gym for pickleball and start the rentals in the community center again. Parks and playgrounds, all the passive recreational activities have been open throughout. We opened the sports courts on May 22nd, and we will open the playgrounds as we enter phase 3. Along with that, we'll also start or resume the shelter rentals, which we've discontinued throughout the thing. So in phase 3, parks will essentially be back open for business. So the next item, it brings us to the pool. So first, I'll just pause there. Any questions, comments, concerns about any of that so far before we start the pool discussion? No, not seeing any.
I can comment on the meetings. When they go back open, kind of like a lot of businesses have really learned about different ways of communicating and engaging. We're doing a great job with the GoToMeeting setup. I'm still involved in Rick, maybe some of the others are as well with other cities. We're doing a great job with the GoToMeeting setup and the way that it's working online. I think it creates a good level of engagement. Obviously, we're not seeing a lot of additional participation, and I know you also see what you may get through YouTube or something like that. But I would encourage that we continue to do it, even when we go to an open meeting situation, because it does present another avenue for people to jump in and participate who maybe don't want to come here, or can't come here, or intimidated to come here during a meeting. It's inconvenient, whatever it may be. But we're doing it. It's working great. I'd like us to not drop a good practice that we've got going, and see if we can continue to do it.
Yeah, it's nice to see the faces when you're remote instead of just this little micro view.
Yeah,
I mean, still have the big overview, but nice to see the faces.
yeah. I know you and I both have had to attend council meetings in the past remotely, and this makes it extremely workable. But more than council or planning commission or whatever participation, I think the public engagement opportunity is really good. So let's
Good
go on.
points.
All right. Yeah, we can go on to the pool then. So in terms of the pool, again, really, we've got a lot more detail about the procedures and criteria for if we're able to open the pool. But for the most part, the recommendation has stayed the same as it was last month. And the recommendation is that we don't open the pool unless and until we reach phase 4 of the state's plan. Primarily that's because phase 3 had a gathering limit of 45 people, and we didn't see a way to really effectively enforce that. And just some of the other CDC guidance and Parks and Rec guidance about how you should operate the pool during if you do open it. So that general recommendation is still there. We, of course, working back from that, if we're going to open the pool, we can't wait until the announcement for phase 4 until we start getting ready. It's going to take about 20 days, we believe, to get the pool filled and the chemicals balanced and get everything that we need to do to get that ready for a season, and then get the lifeguards trained. So we need to start about 20 days in advance of that. And we'll go over, there's a separate document that I sent out after the packet went out about the policies once we're open. But I did provide in the staff report just a rundown of the ones we knew about, the cities who have made decisions to either close or not close the pool. You'll see some of the larger cities decided early on, really, that they would not have pool seasons. Lenexa and Shawnee have announced that they will be opening only one of their facilities each. Leewood plans to open their pool, as does Eudora and Baldwin. So our recommendation is, if we do open the pool, we do have to follow CDC guidelines, Kansas Parks and Rec Association guidelines, and there's a national Parks and Rec guidelines as well. They all have a lot of good information, but they're all pretty voluminous and kind of tough to get your hands around in terms of following all of the guidelines. But I did have the conversation with our liability insurance provider, and Patrick has really reaffirmed that there's not a whole lot of liability on our part for opening the pool if there were an outbreak or something. That as long as we follow these guidelines and do an honest, good faith effort to mitigate the risk, then there's really not any liability associated with opening it. So the staff report has the pool policies. I just had 6 items, and I want to disregard those and go to this other document that's more detailed. Jay and Justin put this together after another couple of conference calls and discussions, more deep in discussions about what we need to do to open it. So as we progress through the phases, again, if we reach phase 4, then the opening day would be July 1. We're considering that only providing the pool for DeSoto residents and only allowing memberships to come in through the gate. So anybody that wants to attend the pool will have to obtain a membership before they get there at the gate. And during that membership process, there is a way to vet, whether or not someone's a DeSoto resident. We've always had the case where our system, if you show your mailing address as DeSoto, you're a DeSoto resident, and you get that the rate as a DeSoto resident. A little bit of a loophole because there are DeSoto addresses that are outside of the city limits that legitimately have a DeSoto address that are getting that as though they're city residents, but that's not something we've been able to, that's not a loophole in our software that we can close easily. So that would remain. There would also remain a loophole, someone just lying about their address on that. I don't know how much we could really do about that. But regardless, the intent is for DeSoto residents only. If we see a lot of, potential abuse to that, then we may go in and do some checking, some vetting of those memberships. But it wouldn't be no walk-ups allowed. So our people aren't handling cash, so that'll help with that. The no pool parties and special events, free admission dates would not happen this year. The swim hours, open swim hours, normally they're 12:30 to 7 p.m. and we divide that into 2 sessions. One would be 12:30 to 3:15, and the other would be 4 to 6:45. We would ask all guests to exit the pool at 3:15 so we could do a cleaning of the facility before the next session comes in. We are working through, and we think we can make it work where our Parks and Rec software can be available for reservations, so people can make reservations to attend one of these sessions, so that they know that they would have a spot to come in, because we do want to limit capacity to 200 people per session, using again a sign-up method. So we just don't have any idea if we're gonna bump up against that limit every single session for the whole season because people just really want to get out and do stuff, or the 200 limit will never be an issue because people are still kind of afraid and don't want to attend a gathering like that. Either way is possible. We know the messaging is important. We don't want to have a flood of people from around the county and the region show up at DeSoto because we're open, only to find out that you have to have a membership and you have to be a DeSoto resident to get in. So it's a little bit, we really won't know until it happens. But the session thing, I think, is reasonable, because we don't want to have. We do want to have that ability to clean the facility, and we don't want to have a lot of people just showing up at the gate and not being able to get in because of capacity reasons. On concessions, we do want to sell some limited prepackaged concessions. Programming, let's see. So swim lessons, I think I talked about a little bit before. Proposed in the morning, so sessions 3 and 4 would still occur in July. Swim team, normal, we have a time for the swim team to be there, and then there would be no lap swim because of the swim team and swim lessons. Masks will be provided to staff, and we are thinking about waivers to sign, and maybe as part of the membership application process online, there would be some sort of a waiver about COVID for all the participants to sign there. We, part of the reason for this, the more detailed outline was because of the discussion we had with the Parks Board Monday evening. Had quite a bit of discussion about the logistics and the mechanisms and how to open and how to do this, and a lot of these recommendations have come from that discussion. So I'd like to stop there and answer any questions, have that dialogue that we need to have about this.
Okay. Lori.
First question is, Jay, what's the main reason the other cities are not opening their pool? Or is it just multiple reasons?
I think there are multiple reasons. Some of it is the concern over the social distancing and how to follow that, being able to follow that guideline. I honestly believe that some of them is financial.
Okay.
To be honest with you, talking behind the scenes with people at my level, that's some of the things that were mentioned. I don't know if that was mentioned at higher up levels, but
Staff training, I've heard too.
Staff training was another big
For
one.
the availability of staff.
When you get into some of those bigger towns, if they have a lot more turnover and need a lot of guards, depending on, and Justin's on the line too, so he can help with this as well. We use Red Cross, and it is required to receive certification for the hands-on portion, which how to use social distance and hands-on. I think that was another reason for that. There is another group called Star Guard that's out there that has a kind of a modified training where they're able to do a little bit differently. But I think it's a mixed bag of monetary and the concerns over the COVID and social distancing aspect.
Okay. And your concerns and anything about training our lifeguards and stuff are going to be okay. We'll have enough lifeguards and
Yeah, we have
in
enough
place.
currently returning to get to open up and have no problem. What we're hoping is that they will obviously hold on long enough till we can get more trained and be able to incorporate the newbies into the situation, because every year we want to make sure we have new ones, because you never know what you're going to lose, even if they're only getting 15, 20 hours. But Justin's confident at this point that we can get rolling with the returning staff. One thing Red Cross did do was extend certifications. Certifications have to be updated every other year, and they've extended them through this COVID period. That even if you weren't certified last year, they've extended it through the end of this summer so that you can still be considered a certified lifeguard. So.
Okay. And with our memberships, how they work, being I'm not a pool goer, how does it work at the door? Do you show an ID? Do you have a card? You
have a PIN number, and what we're thinking is that when the person what we've done in the past is the PIN pad is available to the member coming in. They punch in their number, it pops up on our screen for verification. What we're wanting to do is turn that push button around so that our staff is the only one touching that. The only concern in that is if I walk up there and you're right by me and I say mine's 1, 2, 3, 4, next time you go, okay, I can use one. But in this situation, if everybody's a member, it's not an issue. So it's when we have a daily gate with a member or somebody like that where they hear somebody else's number. So I haven't concocted in my way a sly way of trying to take advantage of that. If everybody's a member, there may be something I've missed, but if everybody's a member, there shouldn't be a way.
Well, and
if
hopefully
it's
they're
verbally said.
You could have them stand back so far.
Yeah.
So that it's
Social
a little bit different.
distance on the entry.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, even with that, somebody could tell someone else their PIN number, but you verify asking them their name or something too. I mean, even at that, they start to learn who they are.
They'll punch it in, and then they'll ask for verification of the name.
Okay.
Some of these kids are smart enough to where they know who's who and who, all that kind of stuff. But especially with our returning staff, and we have a few that have been there for a while, they know. I wouldn't say everybody, but the vast majority of people anyway. So especially in a smaller town, it's harder to get away with something like that. So.
Okay. Yeah. And my last question would be just knowing people, and people maybe are going to have cough and colds, and maybe I have it, maybe I don't, but I'm going swimming anyway because there's chlorine in the pool and it will kill everything. Has there been any thought of taking temperatures of people before they come in? Or I don't know that that's even 100% anymore as far as the best diagnostic tool, but it still seems to be used going to and from work at a lot of places and everything. So are other pools or any guidelines as far as doing that? Or you're just going to, is there any restrictions that we can say that if, we're seeing somebody in there that's coughing and hacking all over the place, we're going to ask them to leave? Any like when you're signing your waiver, you're getting your membership, you're saying, yes, I will abide by this type of thing.
You abide by, and then also you know of the risk.
Yeah.
Something for, we ran it by Patrick for baseball, softball, and t-ball. We did have, I'm still in the process, for everybody that registered before all this, I've sent them a COVID waiver form to fill out, and a lot of it, I don't know it verbatim, but that information is all in there. Now, in terms of testing prior to entry, I don't know. I would kind of defer to Patrick on what's legal and what's not, but I'm not opposed to any of that. That's not something that we had planned on doing, but I'm not opposed to that.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you
Yeah.
know, like I said, the only problem I see in all of this is people that are sick, whether, you know, hopefully no one's going to have COVID anymore, but they're going to go anyway, because that's just how people are. It's just going to happen. And, you know, but that's the last question I have. So thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Rob?
A couple things. I've had some discussions with Jay, with a number of other people. I've had probably more contacts from our residents on this issue than any other issue since I've been on council. I've got emails in my email box. I've had people call. Every single one's been asking to get the pool open. Clarification, the recommendation, Mike, on opening pool on phase 4, that is your recommendation. That's not the Ad Astra plan.
No, the Ad Astra plan allows it.
Ad Astra plan is phase 3 on pool openings,
Yeah.
which is expected June 8. Currently, the Kansas, as of yesterday or today, Governor Kelly's briefing with the Kansas health official, Johnson County's briefing yesterday, all the infection rates, the curve, all of those are flattening and reducing in the line that is actually beyond what they were expecting. So things are looking good on that front. I like what I'm seeing. I had said a couple of the things that I had talked about with Jay was kind of the residents only, to where other cities that do have pools closed don't have the ability to send their people here, and our residents who pay for the pool don't have access to it, among other things. So I like what I've seen put together in the recommendations. My only encouragement would be, I don't see a reason for the July 1 date, being that Ad Astra and the recommendation of the state is that when we move to phase 3, it's capable of opening. So if we're going to open it, then let's move forward with getting it filled and start moving forward with opening it.
Kevin?
I kind of talk back and forth as to whether my feelings about the pool being open or not. But I mean, if we are going to open it and it is available to be open during phase 3, then I'd recommend that we get on the move and we get it open, because it's going to need to be open long enough to make any money, and most pools don't make any revenue anyway. It does give the kids something to do. I think you're going to take all the precautions. I've read through the documents. And you're right, Lori, a lot of works are taking temperatures and things of that nature. I don't know that they stand out there, it's 95 degrees, and they're standing out there waiting in line, they're going to be at 100.4 when they get up to get their temperature taken, so that may not be very effective. So we're going to limit it to pool passes only.
Yeah, members.
So
yeah.
Not all DeSoto residents. So we would limit some of our kids in the city that would not be able to attend if they could not afford a pool pass. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, well, so there's also some recommendations in the pool pass on the cost of the pool pass too. So we could do that a number of ways, but yeah, that's the recommend. Yeah, that for contact tracing and residency verification has to be a member, but we could offer free. I mean, we could offer those memberships free. We could prorate them or greatly reduce them, or we could have it where the membership this year is also good for next year.
I would just hate to exclude a portion of our city kids that would want to come to the pool, but I am for opening it in phase 2. We're going to do it. That's all I have.
Okay. Kevin Honemichael.
Yeah, I'll echo Councilman Ritter's comment about making it inclusive in some way through rate consideration or whatever it may be. I kind of consider this in my mind two, in two groups. One's the population and two's the workers. The population, I guess I'm not as popular as you, Rob. I've got exactly one comment on it. So, and it was just a broad gauge email saying I'd like to see the pool opened up. I think if people are comfortable, they'll go, and if they're not comfortable, they won't go. So my less than scientific poll of what do you think about it? Would you go? Was my 17-year-old son who's like, open the pool. I'm not going. So there may, at least in his social circle or in his groups, they're like, not so much. So I think that's a public choice. As long as we're okay with, Lori's question was, my number one question was, can we staff it?
Mm-hmm.
And, you answered that, you addressed that one right off the bat. Are we going to have any problems with getting staff? And if we can do that, then I'm fine with opening it. I think it needs a date and not just when it, as soon as it can be open. You mentioned it's going to take about 3 weeks to prep and get ready to go anyway. You're getting close to July 1st, whether it's the 1st or, the prior Monday is the 29th of June. Maybe you start on a weekday so you can kind of get your operation rolling again before you're on a weekend. I think it's good to have a date out there, published and said, this is what we're shooting for. Pending any change or, other circumstances, this is the date we're shooting for, and everybody can work around that. But you guys are dealing with operations. If you can, open on a weekday or a weekend, I think it's awesome to have it open before the 4th of July weekend. And then we'll just see what the response rate is. We'll see what the adoption is.
That's one thing that kind of what you just brought up, Kevin, was depending on what we get in terms of numbers, it may go back to just regular hours if we're not having the
Right.
amount of people that we are, I guess, preparing for with the two separate 200 people sessions. If it turns into,
Would you still need to empty and clean?
I think it would still be a good idea. We could call it a pool break.
Yeah,
but I think it would still be a good idea to do some sanitization.
That's a CDC record, or somebody had that.
An extended safety cleaning.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Were you done, Kevin?
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you.
Danny.
I'm in agreement with the pricing and see if there's something we can do along those lines and get that taken care of quickly. And I'm for going right now and go ahead and get things started and get things going to try to beat that date, July 1st. Let's go ahead and get going and get it opened up. So that's my comment, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess the comments I would add, or I would echo the staffing. The juveniles that we got young people that are going to be working as lifeguards, and they're comfortable apparently, and their parents, their guardians are comfortable with them working in that environment, or they wouldn't be choosing to do that. The things that I know that they were discussed was the need for, I think folks that attend the pool need to be responsible for their own social distancing. I think we did mention we were going to have some additional deck monitors in place. I think that would be a COVID reimbursable expense, the additional staffing for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good idea. I'd just make sure that those are mature folks.
They're not the guards.
Right. Yeah, the guards have a job, and that's lifeguard. That's
guards.
protecting people in the pool. So it's not making sure that the kids aren't too close together on the deck. So let's see. I guess I would encourage us then to probably go ahead and start filling the pool in the event that just plan that we are going to open, and so that we can open it when we. I don't know that we need to wait for the July 1st date. If if we're comfortable opening it and it's July 20 or June 24th, then let's go ahead and open it, I would say.
And I mean, you're going to know a week, 2 weeks in advance by the time you get the pool up and going. So, I mean, if you start filling it now, at what point will you go, we're going to be ready on this day?
July 1st, I'll be ready.
I was going to say, I'm assuming you're going to.
That date's in there for a reason. That's when he'll be ready.
Assuming at least a week in advance, you'd know that the chemicals are going to be there, the lifeguards are going to be.
Yeah, that last week's gonna be pretty much lifeguard training and touch-up stuff. That
So
first,
at that
first
point-
week and a half to 2 weeks is gonna be, because we have some minor repairs that need to be made that we've talked about, that we have deferred to after the pool season. Some concrete issues that we've got to, not knowing where we were gonna be, we didn't want to spend some money on something and then tear it out and then
I guess what I'm getting at
do
is
something else.
if we are talking about messaging it,
Right.
we can pretty much say that it'll open between this time frame, and then when we get closer, you'll have a week or two to
I would love to honestly,
actually have a date.
I would love to honestly have a date tonight, if at all possible, to be honest with you.
What would be the most feasible for you?
We
Okay.
said the first just because July 1. I mean, I think the 29th is doable. That gives me 3 weeks to get to that point. So I would say that June 29th would be doable. Every year we run into pump issues, 'cause, you know.
Yeah.
They sit out there and rust and
Yeah, we
know,
definitely
and-
don't want to put a date out and then
Yeah.
not be able to meet it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And I would like to be able to start getting the message out, because I'm, with Rob in terms of are we going to open or not and all this, and I would love to be able to give people answers that I haven't been able to give, instead of I'll let you know when I know. So if we can get some things in concrete, that would be outstanding for Justin and I to be able to get some other work done.
Is it such that we say the 29th, and if you guys are ahead of schedule, you can do a soft open, or
Possible.
to where you set it 29th date, and then by the 24th or something, you're going, hey, okay, we'll do a soft open on this weekend.
Yeah, we
or-
can get that word out real quick. Yeah.
I guess I would just ask in that scenario though, if you're opening during a weekday, you're going to get a little bit lighter attendance than you're going to get on a weekend. And are you prepared? Typically when you talk soft open, you talk an open that's controlled. Instead of
Right.
Not opening on a Friday or Saturday.
Right. And we want to be here too. Justin and I want to be here. So Monday through Friday. And obviously 29, 31 right in there, it would be good for us. Because we're going to need to be on site more than typical years because of everything that's going on.
I just don't see a reason to push it before the 29th. I mean, to
Right.
have to push these guys to get it
Right.
done and to train people right and to make it
The
happen.
29th is,
There's no reason to it.
Right.
29th is fine.
I would like to clarify, I did get one comment on each side. I got an email from someone that wanted it open and an email that someone had concerns about the pool opening and that community spread that might
Right.
create. So
Lastly, you mentioned that you guys were going to be there a lot. I would
Mhm.
ask that you oversight something.
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
make sure that you
Yeah.
guys are there.
We're going to have some more, and that's the other thing why I'm saying some more in depth. Not that we don't train anyway, but more in depth, especially on the cleaning side, disinfection, sanitation side. Just to drill in their heads the importance, I guess you could say, or heightened importance of doing all that stuff. So, I mean, it's important anyway, don't get me wrong, but with where we are right now in the world, working on that and training of the managers as well, to get them on our lines as far as knowing that things are different.
So if we're agreeing on the 29th, do we need to bring up and actually discuss, because it's been bounced around, cost? Residents, pricing, or do we leave that up to city staff?
I think staff can probably come up with
I'm good with staff. With them
taking care of it.
knowing
They know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we already had didn't we have some sort of scholarship reduced rate program in place?
Not for the pool.
Not for
We do that for
we
our,
talked about it.
we talked about it, but we've just done it with our programming. Baseball, softball, t-ball, basketball, soccer, volleyball, that type of stuff.
Is that something that can translate over to a pool membership situation?
The only issue at this point would be what we use for those programs is the USD 232 free and reduced lunches. And depending on where we're at in terms of contact, we would have to be able to verify that information.
Okay.
And typically the ones, some will put in with their registration, they'll print out a form that states free or reduced or whatever it is from the school. But typically those patrons will come to us and want to show us the form, then they want to take the form. So timing wise, that might be difficult a little bit.
Okay.
I would just take notice, if you notice some folks turn them down, that they can't afford the membership, bring it to Mike's attention so we can share or make a decision.
Yeah, I think, well, whatever we do, we'll communicate that to the council, and we'll have another council.
We'll be back
meeting
at
on
the 18th.
Yeah.
But if we're opening on the 29th,
That stuff's going to need to go out next week.
I was gonna
it'll need
say
to go
you're going to
out.
want to be taking pool memberships.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much.
We probably already have
Starting-
some sold.
I mean, starting tomorrow.
As soon as possible, yes.
So
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we
Mike
can-
and I'll have to sit down and Justin and,
So-
and discuss this.
So let me ask
Quickly.
this, Mike and Jay, what's your leaning or what are you thinking as far as combined 2020 and 2021? Are you thinking 3? Are you thinking, what are you, or if you really,
I think the prorate makes more sense.
okay,
Just to make a clean division between the years. And then I think a reduced program like the one we have for the other makes sense as well. It's a money loser anyway, and really, we're not trying to keep the lights on with pool memberships.
It's
Yeah.
recreational programming. It is not
really-
an income source, right?
Really isn't.
Not a
Really
revenue
isn't.
generator.
So-
and part of it, I mean, this summer with so many camps canceled and everything else, it's also a community service of,
Yeah. Yeah,
Community
I think
amenity.
free is something very valid to consider.
What was
So
is it
let me
100
tell you what was just going through my mind with the. So we got this CARES CDBG CV.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed money, but I apply for a grant to
for community
that would provide
scholarship passes
yeah,
or whatever.
pool memberships to
Membership offsets.
anybody that applies,
Offsets.
basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
In terms of proration, Rob, what we were talking about was looking at what a typical season is in terms of dates that we would be open, weather pending, and then just doing the math from when we would open to
Yeah.
the end, and just
All sounds good to me.
that's kind of what we were thinking. So
I like the thinking. I like where you are.
Okay, so the messaging then will be we're planning to open the 29th. Please, only membership, so please, get your membership online here. We'll figure out what the cost would be. The only caveat being potentially that perhaps if the state doesn't get into phase 3 for some wacky reason
Right.
before then, what are our feelings about that scenario? Do we just, it doesn't matter, or we're just going to go ahead and go, or do we need to have another discussion on the 18th at that point? We're going to start filling the pool tomorrow or whenever,
Yeah.
but
I think we would have to have that discussion. I mean, there would be, if we don't go to phase 3, that means there's a different condition on the ground.
Yeah.
In a week than what we know today, and so obviously then that's going to change.
And like I said, watching the county and the state updates yesterday and today, the curve and the trends are not looking like that would be delayed into the pool opening.
No
time that
reason.
we're talking
No
about.
reason to think it will
Right.
happen.
I mean, I don't think.
if it does,
from
we
what
talk
I've heard
about
from
it
them,
in
I don't
the
think it's going to be delayed past Monday.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't see it being delayed into the pool time we're
So-
talking about.
Does anybody feel like there needs to be a caveat to the public messaging, or it's just, hey, we're opening on the 29th?
No, I think you still should. I mean, everything is still going to have to be based on what's going on, in my opinion. Because right now you don't have churches open, you don't have mass groups of things, so things could turn around at any point in time when people are starting to be around each other again. So I don't, you don't want people coming back then and saying,
You can still continue with the plan. What's outlined
Just
up
phase-
here as far as any waivers, as
phase
far
3
as
instead of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Clear?
Clear. Yeah.
clear as mud.
Any further action
mine.
needed from the body tonight on this topic?
Not on the pool.
But
I did want to. We haven't actually gotten to the end of the staff report, and I'm sorry. I'll make this quick.
Okay.
But events. So summer concert series has been canceled, and we are in contact with the bands, and they do, of course. Every band's looking for gigs at any time they can get them. So we did talk about here last time we talked about this about some sort of a concert event later, maybe late September or October. I think that's still a possibility. We also talked. We had a meeting with the DeSoto Days committee, and I'm going to give them the list of artists in case they want to work those artists into what they're doing in terms of the DeSoto Days festival. With the understanding that they have to make it work within the context of their event. So, summer concert series. There's still a possibility that we have an event later on in the fall, but we haven't really laid that out. I don't plan on any public messaging about that at all, other than unfortunately it's canceled. So the 4th of July then is the only other event that the city has. We're directly involved with or responsible for. My recommendation would be to announce the cancellation of that event, and we did talk with the DeSoto Days committee about incorporating the fireworks show into their event. They were excited about that. There's some considerations that they need to take about the carnival and logistics and timing, so they're not exactly sure when in their event that they might want to have that. Saturday night would be a logical time, but that might take away from the carnival. So there was a thought about Sunday night since Monday is a holiday. So they're still working that through, but their initial reaction was, yeah, they'd love to have that fireworks show associated with their event. So still working the details on that.
I guess my input on that would be that I don't think we really we're not canceling the fireworks show. We're rescheduling the fireworks show. So rather than saying we're canceling, we're not canceling the 4th of July event, we're rescheduling our fireworks event to create an enhancement with the
DeSoto Days.
the DeSoto Days event, and feel that would be appropriate. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets canceled due to weather anyway from time to time.
Yeah.
But I just think it's we're postponing it, rescheduling.
Soft, yeah, okay. More positive
Really,
public
cancel.
messaging, yeah.
Comments from this side?
No, because
The
shooting
July
for
ban?
years, it won't change the way they set it up. It's all electronic. It's all on the ground.
Don't have a need for a ban.
It'll still be down at the park.
I shut
assume.
mine from the park in the beginning.
Well, it'd still
Are they
be
going to be uptown this year?
No,
still be at Riverfest. I'm assuming that's why they would consider a Sunday night.
The fireworks?
Yeah.
For sure.
Because otherwise they'd have to find some place visible from downtown. I mean, there's
Pretty small.
that would be
Yeah,
a challenge. A barge on the river. I don't know what that would be.
The barge.
old water plant.
Bridge will be closed.
The bridge. Well, we could have them shoot it from the middle of the bridge. Well,
but that might be something we want to make sure they understand that we'd expect it to be at Riverfest Park.
Oh, yeah, no, that was clear.
Yeah, we
can-
when we talked
yeah,
about
we
that,
can
was
do
clear.
that, yeah.
That was clear.
okay.
Okay, that was it on that.
Just by DeSoto Days,
All right.
hopefully the bridge is open. By DeSoto Days, hopefully the bridge is open.
All American was okay with it. They're keeping our supply.
Yeah.
It won't be.
Moving on then. Item F, fireworks,
Thanksgiving.
approved fireworks sales permit applications for 2020.
Yeah, speaking of fireworks, so each year we have an application process where we actually limit it to 6 fireworks vendors or tents, essentially. We had 3 this year, and they're listed there. Steve handles the logistics of those permits, along with the fire chief. Make sure that all the safety measures are in place.
Are these 2020 or 2021? I thought these were.
21.
No, these are 2020. These are for this year.
No, these are 2021.
No, these are for next year.
They're written wrong. It should be 2021.
We always do. They're a year ahead.
Right.
We approved the next year's permits.
Yeah.
The waivers to those.
This one is written wrong. It should be 2021.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
It is.
It always has been.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it may have to do with Steve approves the setup right before the 4th. But you're right, they have to apply.
A year.
Right
This
after.
isn't them applying for their permit to sell for next year. This is approving their stands.
No, we've never done that.
I don't remember.
Yes,
We've never done that. The only thing we've ever done.
That's during their request to sell.
This.
Right.
A year ago.
We did. We approved.
They do it the day right after the 4th.
Yeah, this is typed
right around
wrong.
the 4th of July. that
This
they
should be
do
2021.
The next year's.
When it first started out, they did it like January, February, March, and then it went to after the 4th. It was better to just get them right after that.
Right.
Is what
I mean, that's what I'm recalling.
Sorry, I wish Steve was here.
Well, we can table this till the next meeting.
Yeah, we can table it.
Let's just kick this can down the road till our next meeting. Get some.
I'm in favor.
We will have-
I'm in favor of these for next year, and waiving these if you want to vote.
I'll
on
make
them.
a motion to table the
Well, I just.
fireworks permit till the next meeting.
I'll second that.
All right.
We'll have
All
clarity.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We just need to get the dates clarified.
Yeah.
We have different
That
recollections.
would be Councilwoman Murdoch.
Sorry, Lana.
Hey, it went really fast.
Almost couldn't write it down.
All right. Executive session, I'm assuming we have none.
Nope.
All right. Advisory reports, Mike, carry on.
Carrying on with the fireworks theme, we have been trying to schedule some sanitary sewer smoke testing in the DeMeadows neighborhood for several months now. With the COVID impacts, people staying at home, we didn't think it was a good time to be smoking up the neighborhood at that point. But we do have it tentatively scheduled for the week of June 22nd. The reason being is that pump station down there is just inundated during rainfall events, and sometimes it's worse than others. And we haven't had a terrible problem with it this spring, but some rainfall events, it overloads that pump station. So there's obviously rainwater source getting into the sanitary sewer, and smoke testing fills the lines with smoke and identifies where that problem could be. So we have a contractor lined out to come in and do that. Blue Water Solutions Group, and they handle door notifications and public and obviously the fire department notification as well. We
Folks that have their sump pumps hooked up incorrectly.
Yeah. If you have a quote unquote illegal sump pump connected to the sewer, your basement might fill full of smoke. So there is some public information that needs to happen there before and during the event. So wanted to give you a heads up on that's set for the week of the 22nd.
Okay. What else you got?
That's all I got.
Okay. City attorney.
Nothing for me.
All right. City planner. All right. Lana, what do you got?
I actually have something this
Yeah.
week, Mayor. We have processed 3 mobile food vendor applications and permits this past week. One for Frenzel's Barbecue, and Bill is set up down at the Dollar General parking lot on Saturdays. We have Kona Ice out of Shawnee, and they're making a drive through all of the area in town. And this past week, we had Chick-fil-A down by Tri-Century Bank. So all 3 of those are good to go in our city.
Great.
Paying sales tax.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I hear the ones returning next week or so. The last one.
Chick-fil-A?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Council comments. Danny, would you like to start tonight?
I'm good, Mayor, and thank you very much. I don't have anything.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Danny. Lori?
Yep, I do have something.
Okay.
So every day we go to work and we get to look at Jake's fireworks that still is unfinished. They're publicizing that they will be selling fireworks and opening right after the 4th of July. I just am very uncomfortable with that whole situation. I don't like it. It's been a year with nothing hardly being done. And I just want to make sure that we as a city stand firm that they're not getting temporary use or anything of that building until it is as complete as every other building has to be complete with landscaping and everything else that they need to do before that thing gets opened. Not that I want to put it hard on the Methodist Church who wants to sell fireworks there, but I'm just concerned we're 3 weeks out and they're going to come knocking on our door and ask for an exception. And they've had plenty of time to get that done. And it is not getting done. And I'm just not happy about it. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Okay.
They need their occupancy permit signed off, completed to be able to function.
Yeah, I mean, we feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, there's rumors that they're really going to come in next week and do all that parking lot and get the landscaping in and get everything, all the I's dotted and T's crossed. We'll believe it when we see it.
Well, I hope they do.
They, you know, as they did last year, they might just put up a tent out there to sell fireworks. I mean, that's something that's a possibility. But yeah, we're the same vein as you. We're not.
I still don't see that should be something that we allow, though. I mean, it's not even a completed piece of property. You know, there's no safe way in or out of it. You know, so that's just doesn't. There's not anything finished to legally do it. So,
is there a safety standard there that we got to look at for public access to that building, because they don't have it right now?
Well, for sure, any occupancy permit, temporary or permanent, of the building needs that drive put in, needs the parking put in, all of those access issues for the building itself. I was saying to throw up a tent on the property doesn't necessarily need the type of permanent public access that the building would. I mean, there's people put up fireworks tents.
Well, right. We allow the tents to go up temporarily for fireworks sales. So, I mean,
yeah, but most of them are in a safe area that has a completed driveway or parking lot or something adjacent to it, not a power of.
Way for a fire truck to get down to that location. They put a tent in the parking lot. They go down that cul-de-sac where it's not finished. And people park on both sides to buy from there.
Yeah.
There would be no way to get any emergency services down to there.
Park at Harps and walk across the street.
The sad fact is people are looking forward to the sports side of it, and that's just not happening either.
For what?
The sports
Yeah,
side of it.
I think we got them.
answers for that.
We reinforced to Jake's, should they or have Steve or Cameron remind them that there'll be no TCO.
Do they have to get permit to put a tent up to do the tent sales?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
So
that's Steve's bailiwick.
So even if they want to put a tent up, they still have to get a permit. So
so they'd have to get a permit. They'd have to show us where the parking would go, what the entrance would be.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to present to you that that's not a possibility. I think it's possible that they could put up a tent there and be within the regulations and within safety standards this year if that's what they chose to do. I think there's enough room there.
Who's to say they don't work a deal with Travis to put it on one of the
Yeah, put it
lots?
somewhere else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because if we allow them to do that, then they may leave it on next year.
Well, at some point their permit expires.
Yeah, so
right?
permits are typically they're good for 6 months, and we're liberal with extensions on that. And so this one it also has been extended for that additional 6 months, so that would get them to a year. You know, I don't know that it's in anyone's interest to pull an active building permit at this time, but they do have deadlines on them that do need to be extended. And if we have ongoing issues that that continue to cause us problems in the future, there's a deadline out there with the permit that we could address.
Did we tie any obligations or to the public access, the through street there to the commercial subdivision?
To the
for the
east?
Pike property?
No.
Yes. Other than that connect.
Right.
Good point, Lori.
Rob,
Not other than the bridge came up and the Johnson County Commission did approve a bid for that work this week.
Yeah, they did.
So we will probably start seeing an actual date on
Yeah,
that before
yeah.
too long.
Right.
But the money's been approved, the contractor's been picked and
Mhm.
approved. So that was one thing that did happen this week.
Yeah, we still don't have those dates from the county, but as soon as we do, we'll communicate them.
It's going to be a lot closer now.
Sounds like it could be months, closed for months.
Yeah.
That's the consistent message I've heard from county staff is that once it closes, it's going to be several months.
And there was one county commissioner that suggested a toll bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that discussion was quite something. And about not fixing it at all.
Yeah, I
How much
heard
traffic there was that went across it.
that.
So it ended pretty quick. But it did.
Yeah, that discussion didn't last long, but that was thrown out. That's all.
Kevin.
I had talking about that street where Jake's is. Mike, I brought up that fire hydrant that's next to Burger King.
Yeah.
And they said it would be landscaped so that you could get the main cap off with a wrench. I still don't think that that's high enough. Somebody may go out there and check it. But,
Okay.
I still don't think you can spend that main cap off at the 36 inch or the 18 inches that you need for that wrench. So
Okay.
still a concern of mine. The other thing I talked to Brad about is there was one of the businesses brought up, actually next to mine, that the new striping that went down 91st Street is a solid white line. So he was wondering if folks were going to get ticketed if they turn into the first Casey's entrance or to go back towards Beer 30 or Mike's Liquor and those. If they could cross that white line without getting a ticket.
Well, they're crossing double yellows too.
Yeah, so
They're crossing a solid white and two
So
double.
is that no longer?
Solid, but you can cross a solid line.
You can cross right.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
I
not
thought
an
too.
issue.
No, that's what I thought too. So I just
It's not.
wanted to bring it up for clarity.
Yeah, it's
That's
okay.
just that's just
Yeah.
a delineation. It's
It
not-
really won't change until the
Roundabout
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
in.
there,
Right.
then it's one direction.
Mhm.
But, no, I just want to bring it up that there was somebody that asked and
So yeah, there's that turn lane there now. So you are crossing a double yellow.
Which you always
and a left
were.
turn. You always were. So you could always get ticketed.
Right.
Yeah.
There was never a gap, I don't believe, in the double
No.
yellow there. I mean, even it just faded out. Right.
At one time there were
One time there was the stick ups
delineators. Yeah.
till they got all knocked down. So.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his point was that they're turning into Casey's and driving through Casey's parking lot, which has added traffic to Casey's, which he believes it may cause an accident of some sort, or they have to go down to the second one. So we just need to inform those businesses there that maybe they tell their folks not to turn in that first one. I don't know. I was just trying to help
Okay.
the gentleman get the answer he needed. But if they're always turning across the double yellow, and it's always been double yellow, it's always been
Yes.
Yeah, the turn is so. I guess you're actually turning. You're actually not crossing any more pavement either. I think there was always because there's a right and a left there now, and there was two lanes coming out before.
Oh, there was a gap.
Yeah.
Oh, it stopped way short. Yep.
So now it does not have a gap.
Yeah.
Because it's a turn lane.
Because it's turn
Shouldn't
lane.
have a gap. You'll only get a ticket if you have a crash.
Right. At one time, it was not gapped because there were the barricade or
Yeah, they had the
delineators were up in the middle of the road past that entrance. That was shortly after it went in. They just didn't get replaced, and the last overlay striping just striped a
Yeah,
gap.
that striping's created a fair amount of confusion.
So a solution, if it is supposed to be that you go all the way down past El Patron and turn into, come back around to your business and the other
Is that a
businesses.
one-way street now? Or?
No.
No?
Okay, so you could put a "Do Not Enter" sign at that, right where your little hand
Well,
is
you
there.
should be a right turn in there if you wanted. I mean, so it wouldn't be a
Yeah.
do not. I mean,
There'll be some good reconfiguration proposals.
yeah.
I'll pass it on.
People probably haven't gotten tickets before.
yeah. It's not a good situation
It
to turn
was.
left there.
My opinion is it was poor planning when it went in. It should never have been there.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things we get to deal with from
As
errors
is
of our
the,
past.
The whole configuration of that joint driveway from when the Sonic went in.
Yeah.
That was an extraordinarily bad decision that
Right.
got allowed. I remember that discussion. So
Well, and like in Lawrence, when that first gas station you come to, that first stoplight, if you cut through the gas station to go turn and avoid that intersection, they'll give you a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
You speak
you're
from
not supposed to do that. No, but I've seen it happen quite frequently. So it's kind of, so people that are cutting through Casey's parking lot to get around there, is it the same sort of thing? That's an illegal move also.
That I think his concern is more of heavy bike traffic, and then them cutting through there, and somebody backing
Yeah.
up or having an
Yeah.
accident. And so I told him I would bring it up. Now I have the answer, so I'll.
Yeah.
I'll
I would
share
suggest they go down to the next public
This one.
street.
that
If you're
is-
riding a bike, it's just a little bit longer ride, and there's nothing wrong with riding your bike just a little bit longer, right?
since it's been paved and improved.
Then it puts them driving right across in front of your cigar shop to get to.
There you go.
I have made that left-hand turn across those two yellow lines. I know that. But during school hours, it's hard there because it was impossible. But now that the turn lane's been there and things, I think there's a lot of improvements that are going to come with the roundabout.
Yeah.
So it's just a temporary thing.
It's temporary.
Thank you, guys. That's all.
All right, Kevin.
No, good meeting. A lot of ground covered tonight. I have nothing to add.
I had a couple things I wanted to update you on. So one of them, and we've alluded to it a couple times during this meeting, is the Johnson County got $116 million more or less through the CARES Act. The position of the county has been, since they got it, that was money for the county for county expenses, and that cities within the county should seek, if there was any reimbursable expenses that a city within Johnson County had, you should seek some of the state funds. Now, the state's position is that communities that are within the counties that got direct funding through the CARES Act should seek their funding from those counties and not from the state. So we've been excluded from essentially both pools. Not that we have a great deal of a huge expense here, but it's something that I've been working with our county commissioner on to try and get some movement from the county, and I think they are coming around to realize that that $116 million would be appropriate for them to share that for COVID-related expenses to the communities that are within the county. And hasn't happened yet, but that's the direction I think things are going. It's not going to make or break us, but it's just a fairness issue. it just didn't set right with me that they were being told no from both sides, even though I didn't really want a lot of money. I just didn't think that was right. And gosh, I have lost my second thought. So apparently, it will arise at our next meeting.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.